Guys, welcome back to Let's Be Frank, the home of men's mental health. Today, you join myself, Jack Howard, and Mr. Ryan Smith. And again, we have tonight a very special guest in Eddy Smits, a TEDx public speaker, author, and licensed NLP practitioner. He's a certified management drivers trainer, cognitive behavior life coach, and master mindset life coach. With a background as a professional clown with stories to tell for over 22 years, Eddy brought joy to 10,000 sick children, and tonight he is going to tell us all about himself. But before then, as always, Mr. Ryan Smith, how are you on this technical, stressed evening that we love?
Mate, I've just listening to that there. I've just got to give that man a clap. It's like, some of that is unbelievable. It's now absolutely mind blowing, and I've not messaged him too much and whatnot. But when I said I want to get this guest on, I'm like, do you know what? I really want to get this guest on, and I'm, he wrote a post a couple of weeks back, and he was challenging people. Are you happy? And I'm like. I can't remember exactly what I put. It was something. I'm more contented. I don't chase happiness, but I'm content within myself. And then he says, "So you're happy then, aren't you?" And I was just like going around a minute and went, "I suppose I am, yeah." So yeah, I'm mind blown, mind blown. It's not. It don't take much though, does it? Let's be honest.
No, it doesn't with you, mate, at all. You get mind blown over the slightest of things. But it is really good to have this guest on, and I'm really excited to hear his story, see everything that has happened throughout his life to get where he has now. And I think it's only right that we hand over to Eddy to tell his own story. So, Eddy, as they say, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, well, you can look at it as two ways. One, that I have accomplished much, or two, that I'm getting older. It's one of the two, right? Yeah, well, let's just go back to my days where I was studying, and I've always loved to work with children. So for me, the most logical thing was being a teacher, right? Remember, we are writing the 80s now. So in the 80s, I said, hey, let's become a teacher. Then I can work with children because that's something I love to do. So I did that, but soon I find out that teaching wasn't really my thing. I had a problem with the organization, with schools, with all the thing, what was around it. I couldn't be really creative. It wasn't my thing, but I still wanted to work with children though. And then I had some years that I did a little bit of everything. I waited tables. I worked in a glass factory, did some of these kind of stuffs. And then at some point, I followed a course puppeteering, and I really loved it. I said, hey, that's really cool to do. And I started getting into that. And by chance, I got a job in a place as a waiter. I was waiting there, but a lot of children came there on holidays. And so I had the fabulous idea, why can't I do like a puppet theater for the small children they are coming? And they found it a brilliant idea, especially because I said, hey, I'll do it for free. but
It's always better.
but it gave me the I've always better, but it gave me a little bit challenge to make it and to do it, and I did make two theater shows for them actually, and that's how I start off. Also with saying, hey, this is really fun. I can really be creative. I can do, and then the next question was, can I make a living out of this? Because that was the question that I asked myself. And I soon found out that that wasn't possible. And the reason why is because puppet theater in those days, that was like late 80s, it wasn't that popular anymore. So yeah, I got stuck there a little bit. But then I saw a clown on Belgian television who had like a lot of kids watched the show. Everybody knew him. It was really popular. And I said, hey, this could be something. This is a figure that really is drawn to kids, or kids are drawn to it. So I got into that, started reading to the library again, end of the 80s, no internet. But the figure, it had magic for me. So I did courses, read books, watched movies, and called myself a clown, which was easy because nobody asks, have you got a diploma of clown? If you say I'm a clown, yeah, you are a clown, right? And so I started to do like birthday parties and all this kind of stuff, which was great because I got paid, right, to do that. But still, there was this thing. I want to make my living out of this. This has to be possible. And from one came the other, and at some point, I came into contact with somebody who was a professional clown. And I had a talk with him, and he said, "Yeah, if you want to do this, you really have to go for it, and you really have to focus on some, because there are so many categories in being a clown." But that was actually the start of where I had the thing. Okay, wow, it's possible to make a living out of this. Of course, everybody else thought I was really crazy. My parents, my friends, they all said, "This is not possible. You can't make a living out of this." But I endured that, and I stayed waiting tables. And at the side, I kept reinventing myself, actually. And then after I was doing that for like 5 years, doing some clown gigs and stuffs, I got invited to people that wanted to send clowns to hospitals. And at that point, that was like 96, 97. There wasn't something like that in Belgium. It existed in America, where Patch Adams had his clowning in hospitals.
That was something I was going to come on to, was Patch Adams, and I
Yeah.
think that where you were saying hospitals, and I see that crossing over, but we'll talk about that in a second. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
It's just what comes to my head with Robin Williams.
Yeah, you
played
can interrupt
it,
me anytime. It's no problem.
fantastic story, absolutely brilliant story.
Yeah.
But
So and that was a little bit. I got invited to do an audition. Actually, audition was more like who are you? What are you doing? So I had a little folder of my clowning things and stuff. And two people came out of that audition, me and another one. And then the next week they said, okay, you can start in that hospital. And we both had something like, okay, let's do this. And so we said, okay, who's going to go first? And the other one was really, really quick to say, you can go first. And there I was, going into that hospital, didn't know what to do, what to expect. And that was it. That was a disaster. I was clowning for 5 years, but then, in hospitals, it's sick children. It's a hospital environment. There are doctors coming in and out, nurses are there. It was like, it was a fiasco. I couldn't make any child laugh, actually. And so I phoned the other guy. I said, this is a disaster, man. We're going to figure something out because this is not working. And he said, why is it not working? Because he was then like doing clowning for 10 or 15 years already. He was a little bit an older guy then. And he said, but what's not working? I said, you go next week and then we'll talk again. So he went next week, and also he called me. He says, Eddy, they don't laugh with my jokes. I say, I know. I don't know what's going on. And then we came together, and we had something. Okay, what are we gonna do about this? And I told him, we just have to go and see what happens. Don't put anything in our head. Just go into the room and see what happens. And that was actually the thing we needed to do. Just go into this room. We saw what happened and react on that. But we weren't used to that. If you are a clown who was on stages or parties or whatever, then you are the star of the show, right? You come in, whoa, the clown is there, and you start doing your things and your balloons and your magic and whatever. But that's not the way it works in hospitals, because it's really the other way around. You have to see what is this child into? What does it want to do? And soon we had something, okay, let the child lead us. And that was the way to go. So it took us a while to feel the difference, to see the difference. But once we had that, of course, then we could move on. And then the second real challenge that I had in hospitals, when we were like 5-6 years in, we came in another hospitals, and there in hospital, and there were a lot of kids with cancer patients and kids, and yeah, that was another story, of course. But that was the most, for me, that was the most, not only challenging time, but I learned the most there. When you go into a room with a child and his parents, and mostly some family, because they were in literally the last days of their lives, um, then it's more than putting on just the red nose. Then everything comes. Then you have to be a good leader. You have to have good contact with the parents, with the doctors, with everything. It becomes something totally different. And actually, the clowning that you do then is like 10% of all the rest what you need to do. And that's also when I found out, okay, when I do all these things that I do here in these children, with the parents, with the nurses, with everything, the way I stand in life, and the way I come about with these things, how can I use this in my real life? Because how can I use this without the red nose? Let me put it like that. And that's also where I wrote a book about is all the things that we stood for as a clown in a hospital, our attitude, the way we were in the moment always, the way we communicated with people. All these things, you could really just put them in your real life. And that was not only the start of writing my book, that was also the start of my personal development, if you call it like that. And also the start of, but that was later, of coaching people, because now I coach people the same way that I did my clowning. It's one-on-one. It's being in the now. It's seeing what is necessary to help this man or woman to the next point. Where they were in hospital, it was okay. Where can I bring this child who is in pain, or who has few days to live, literally, who are disconcerted parents, this family, where can I bring them to a stage or to a place where they can see things in perspective, or another perspective? So it's a little bit the same. And that's also why I say, if people ask me, okay, what's the difference between your clowning and what you do now, then I say, yeah, it's literally only the costume. I only changed costume. That's everything I did. The rest is actually the same what I do. And people have a hard time believing that, until I'm starting to give examples, and then they see what's going on. So yeah, that's a little bit the quick story of why I am so passionate about clowning, but also passionate about what this attitude does with a clown, and how you can bring these things in your life and in coaching in general, actually. Yeah.
So when that
Wow.
gave me like 1,000 questions, and we're gonna go through them all. I love it. So when we look back at the point where you basically turn around to your friend, the other clown, and you kind of go, "This isn't working. Something's not right. Obviously, we're not getting through."
Mhm.
How did your
Yeah.
mindset feel at that point? Was you did you ever get to a point where you were like, "Do you know what? Let's just give up and quit"? Did you get to a point where like, "No, we need to just reinvent the wheel"? How was
Oh yeah.
your thinking process during that time?
Um, the thinking process was the process actually of a clown, because a clown has his success when he fails. When you see these old clown movies about Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton, when they fall, the audience laughs. So that means when the clown fails in any type of thing, the audience laughs. So a clown actually has to love failing. Um, that was like in the beginning when I did courses with professional clowns. When you stood on a stage and nobody was laughing, I can assure you, you literally die on a stage, because you have something, okay, nobody's laughing here. What else should I do? So that thing we took into account from, okay, there was even no giving up was not even considered, because we felt, okay, we are here in the essence of a clown. It's not working. We are failing. So we are doing good, right? That was our intention. Yeah, we are doing good because we are failing here. So let's fail more. Let's go into these rooms and just see what happens, and fail more, and try things, and try. And the most important thing, go into your clown, be that clown. Don't play the clown. Be that clown. Be in this figure. Be in the moment, and let's see what happens. And that's also something now. After I did it for 10 years, and then I trained a lot of clowns. That was the first thing I told them: don't play a clown, be a clown. And it's a world of difference. And a normal child doesn't see the difference. When you put on a red nose, woohoo, the clown is there, right? It's like it's conditioned. But in a hospital, sick children see through that. If you're not real, if you're not really there for them, with everything you have, they feel it. But the moment they do feel that you're there for them, the connection is stronger than anything you will ever have. So that's how we did it. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's.
Oh, it does
Yeah.
hugely, and I know Ryan's there poising with that so much information and questions. He loves it. And I am going to interrupt Ryan really quickly because I do have one final question on this story. When you go into the room with the family, obviously, the last few days and that, obviously, how does that play on you? How much pressure is that on you with knowing what's going on, what the family are going through? What was there times where the family were like, we don't actually want you here? Were they accepting of you coming in? And then how did you kind of, when you left that scenario or that situation, how did you manage to leave that there and not take it home with you? Or did you take it home with you, them feelings and emotions?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. So to answer your question, absolutely, we heard a lot of times. We heard when we came into the hospital and we wanted to visit these children. Most of the time, the parents said, "We don't need a clown right now. We don't need you in this room right now. We want to be alone with our children." So, and that's the part that's the part of leadership and of communication that comes in then to really. Convincing is the wrong word, but to really make these people feel that, look, when I go in there as a clown, it's not only for your child, it's also for you, for your family and stuff. But maybe I can give an example. I'll tell a quick story that I think that that explains this. So there was a child who had like a week to live or something, and I had difficulty coming in. They wouldn't let me into the room. So I said to the parents, look, I'm not coming in for the child. I'm actually coming in for you and the members of your family too. This will be something that you will see your child laugh. This will be the last thing or one of the last things that probably you see your child laugh. Don't take that away from you. And at some point they said, okay, then come in. And in this room was like, it was a funeral ambiance in the room. There was not much light. The family was sitting there. It was quiet. Nobody was talking. The child was just sitting on the bed. And I went in and absorbed this. And the only thing I could do was go and sit beside the child. I didn't really know what to do. So, but that was the trick, is as a clown, you go in and you wait until something happens that you can use, which can sometimes last a long time. And in 1 minute in a room like that can seem like a day, right? But then at some point, I don't know why I asked it, but I asked the child, do you know why everybody is so sad in this room here? And I didn't know what to expect from that question, but I got a very strange answer back. And she said, no, I don't know either. So I went back to her and said, what do you mean? Well, she said, my parents told me that when I die, I will go to sleep forever. I said, yeah, that's actually true. When you die, you go to sleep forever. So I went into the story. And then she said, well, then I really don't know why everybody is so sad, because sleeping is my favorite thing to do.
Wow.
And yeah, and the moment I said that, you could hear a pin drop in the room. But after after that, I don't know, 5-10 seconds, I heard literally a sigh, like a sigh of relief. And someone started laughing, and another one started laughing. And they started talking with the child. And that was my cue. That was about, okay, I'm off here. I did my job. But that's really a story that explains how much we could do as a clown. And until this day, I still get a Christmas card of this family. The child
Wow.
died 7 days after that, by the way.
Bless
But I
her.
still get a Christmas card each year from that family. And yeah, that's what we did. And yeah, that's why we were so compelled also to get in this room, because we knew what we could do, and we understood that the people didn't understand. We understood that very good. That's why we were so determined to get into these rooms.
Ryan's off.
And it-
Ryan's
that's
off again.
yeah,
It's powerful
I
though,
am off.
and it's
I don't have an episode where I don't
No.
cry, but that is absolutely it's
That changed my life. That visit to that girl changed my life forever. My life wasn't the same anymore after that visit.
that's so profound though, and it does go
Yeah.
to show how much value and lessons we can take from our children.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a new father, literally 14 weeks now, and
Congrats.
my life has totally changed since he's come into this world, and I just wanted to, on behalf, I mean, the gratitude that you've obviously brought that family, and the thanks, all these. I don't know how long ago it was, but I'm just lost for words, and that's just wow. Yeah.
Ryan's been hit with emotions,
unreal.
but that's the
to
beauty.
finish the story.
That's the beauty of the story, isn't it?
But yeah, and that's also what I want to do for people now, around happiness, around. That's also what and I have the same trouble that I had then to come into the room, right, into the hospital room, and I have the same trouble now to explain to people and to see what you do and to get through to people. It's the same challenge. It's identically the same challenge, and I understand.
Yeah.
But that's that's the challenge.
Yeah, something that you said. We actually had a consultant psychologist come on a couple of weeks back, and something that you were saying earlier as well about failure. He was saying the exact same things. Putting yourselves into sort of a controlled failure state. So when the times come where you can't help the moments that you do fail on, you're more prepared for them. And so how you saying what you've said and what he said, I think that there's really a lifelong lesson in that. Accept failure. I just think if you can accept it and learn from it,
the only bloody thing is that you only realize it when you're through the failure. Even as clowns, even my courses as a clown, I know that I had one course where that was 10 days or 2 weeks, right? And I think the second or the third day, I don't know which day, I drove home crying, and I said to my then ex-wife, I'm not going back there anymore. It's too much. I can't do this. I thought I was a good clown. I can't do anything. These guys are all so good. I'm nothing. But then I endured. Of course, I went back. But then it was really. I felt so bad. I felt shit. I thought this clowning, I will never learn that, and all these thoughts were coming then. So that the period when you are in this failing state, and that's where most people don't tell you. They say, yeah, you need to fail, and failing you need, but most people forget to tell you the moment that you are failing. Yeah, excuse my French, but that's really the shit you're in. And at that point, it's really hard to see that it's not shit, that life is not shit, that your relationship is not shit, that your profession is not shit. That's a really hard thing to do. And even as a clown, when we knew we need the failures, we knew it, even it was really hard. And I think a lot of people forget to tell that. And I can tell that now too. You need to fail, because from failing you learn and all these things. But I can tell you, at the moment you are failing, it's really hard. And but there's no way to make it softer. You need to go through this hard period. But it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot. I mean, both Jack and myself, we've dealt with a lot, and we're both advocates. You know, we wouldn't have started this podcast. You know,
Yeah,
what this will be.
that's the good thing.
You know, this is season 2. We wouldn't have started this podcast. We have a Facebook group where we work with a charity, you know, alongside a charity, but that wouldn't exist because we wouldn't have been able to recognise the need for it.
Yeah,
And we wouldn't have been able to kind of start planning season 3, season 4. You know, we've had a lot of failures through the podcast, and as well, you know, we've looked at
of course.
things, we've done things, think things haven't worked, and
Yeah,
when you break them down, it's not you know, people look at this as one big failure, and actually, if you actually look at it and you think, well, I've done this project now for 12 months. In that 12 months, I've had 3 failures. But we focus on them 3 failures, not the whole project as a whole, and we really draw our energy onto these 3 sort of things where it's gone wrong, and we think, well, what's the point? What is the point in carry on because of these 3 things that have gone wrong, not the 50 other things that have gone right? And then because we're focused on these, our energy gets spent
yeah,
on these, and this is where things start deteriorating for people. So
yeah,
how
yeah,
how how would you kind of say to someone, you know,
yeah.
you've had these 3 things go wrong, but you've got all these things gone right? It's how do you refocus all that energy?
Yeah. Also, I have a story for that, but let me say how I refocus it is to consider it as a gift, and that's not always easy. You know, if you lose your phone at home, then you can swear, you can do stuff, and then you say, oh, you know, this could be a gift. You know, I have one day without my phone. I'm at ease. Everything. Oh wow, leave me alone. My phone is gone. So it's easy to see that as a gift. It gets harder, of course, when you break your leg. It's a little bit harder. It gets even more harder when you're sick, and it's totally hard when the doctor says you're going to die in 6 months. You know what I mean? So there's difference, but it is possible in every stage, even when the doctor says you have 6 months, to see a gift in it, and that's the trick. That's the trick, and that it can be learned. And the story I want to tell you is I had a clown show. I did have more than 1,000 of them in my career, and there was some balloons in it. So I did in the 3 or 4 balloon figures. I made all music in it, and it was actually the highlights of my clown show were these balloons and stuff. So I went on a day to do the show, and I was setting up my equipment and stuff, and suddenly I wanted to pack my bag of balloons, and I forgot my balloons. And they were pretty important because also in the how they announced me is, hey, master in balloon, blah blah blah, and I didn't have balloons with me. But at that point I was already some years in, and I could immediately switch, and I said, you know what, I'll do things without balloons, without knowing what to do, right? And I did that. And through that, I found out some new stuff for my clown show. So the thing is, the moment you can switch, okay, this is bad, but how can I turn it into a gift? The quicker you can do that, the more you recuperate of failures, of bad luck, of bad business, whatever is bad, the faster it goes. But again, there are, of course, categories. Forgetting your balloons is not the same as a doctor telling you, hey, you've got 6 months. But still, in each stage, it's possible. I saw an interview with Christopher Reeves, you know, the guy who played Superman. Some years back, I fell from his horse, which paralyzed him from the neck on. So he had to only could I think he even had a machine to breathe, to let him breathe. But what he said was, falling from that horse was the best thing that could happen to me. That was what he said in that interview. So that was a guy who really switched at some point and saw and that became his. So he did so much for paralyzed people and stuff that became his thing to do. And that was really heartbreaking. That interview, I really cried. I had something like, wow, this is profound. You know, this guy who has all the success in the world, who is like world famous, falls off his horse, And he says that's the most significant and beautiful thing that happened in my life. That was a very strong thing to say. So that's what I do with the people that I work with, and see the gift in things, try to see the gift, and I work with that, and it is it's staggering how people really very soon see gifts in things, but you have to point them out, right? They won't find them for themselves. You have to calm them down and say, okay, let's talk about this. Well, where's the gift in this? And in the beginning you say, you're crazy, there's no gift at this. They are even angry, they're really angry, and at some points they change, and after the conversation they say, okay, this is good, that is maybe not that strong, but they say, okay, now I can move on, and that's really
It's
important.
that tunnel vision we
So
get
yeah, I don't know
when
if it
when
answers your
we talk to
question, but
someone. So, for example, for myself, if I'm having a really bad day, it could take me a while to realize what the trigger is or what's going on, because within myself I get very tunnel visioned. Whereas if I'm talking to someone like a guest or Ryan
yeah,
or someone else, I instantly see it because I'm allowed to sit back and look at the whole situation. And that's what we don't do
yeah,
as individuals. We don't look at the whole situation. We just focus on the here, the now, the
exactly,
one thing. And
exactly,
before we come on to what you're doing now with the TED Talks and
yeah.
the leadership and the development and that for people, I want to throw a bit of a curveball. And I want to ask, with regards to your younger years when you started, was there any times you used your profession as a clown or the thoughts of being a clown to kind of hide any of your own inner demons, inner emotions, what was going on? Was that like a mask for you, say, or not? Yeah.
Constantly, I did it constantly. I used humor to talk myself out of everything. I had a v- I had a I actually had a very pleasant childhood, but trouble started with me around 16, 17 years old. So then I started to be really troubled, really um, dark, blaming people, and that lasted. Actually, my clowning helped me out of that. But still, until this day, um, I sometimes hide my feelings by laughing about them. So people say something about you and you're not really in a good mood, or you have some problems or whatever. But still, until this day, that's my defense mechanism. And that's also say people, what I hear very often is, oh, we can't read you. You seem to be always happy, but we can't read you. So that is, until today, still a defense mechanism from me. I'm trying to I'm getting better and better at it in being who I am. Also in I don't like people, actually. Also, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I'm
that's
not.
me.
I'm very unhappy going to, yeah, very unhappy. This is great, huh? This talk,
Yeah.
this is great. But I'm very unhappy going to network events, going to where people are, going to the movies, going to all these things. Parties, yeah, with a few glasses of wine, it's better. But actually, I don't like people. I love to be on stage, and I love to entertain people, and I love to get really close to people also. But in generally, I have a problem with like network events. That's really not my
I
thing. That I can't be
No.
myself. Let's put
Yeah,
it that way. I can't be myself
I
at
am
network events.
exactly the
I can't.
same. It's strange because I do this podcast, I chat with people, and if I'm talking about like mental health, talk about my story, I'm quite open. I could talk about it because I've got a
Yeah.
passion. I've got an understanding. There's no kind of fear there about this topic. But within day-to-day life, for me to
Yeah.
go up to someone and say hello, how are you, or but someone bump into me and ask me a question, my social anxiety was really bad, and recently has got really, really bad, to the point where we went to a networking event, myself and Ryan, again to push what we do and to learn what other people do it. And I had a kind of a mini panic attack, and I was on the verge to, like, this is not right here. And
Mm,
for me, now I'm talking more about mental health, learning more about it. When I come away from that situation, I can kind of look back and go, right, I nearly had a panic attack. Why is that? Well, okay,
Yeah.
part of me as a person, I'm not interested, as I say, in bullshit conversations. I'm not interested in the hello, how are yous. I'm not. I know that sounds bad as a person, but that's just me. That's just what I learned from my counselling,
No,
and it's
no, it's
like,
not bad. It's
yeah,
just how it is.
it is how you how it is, and that. And
Yeah.
again, people got stories, this sort of stuff I
Mhm.
love. But then you look at the aspect of, right, so what is that fear with the social anxiety when you go into that kind of motion? So for yourself, Eddie, if you're like, right, tonight I'm going to the movies, instantly, if you're having them thoughts already of like, I don't want to go, I you know I'm not great in them situations, then them thoughts are going to have effects on like your feelings, and then them feelings going to have effects on your behavior, which is will then show as like, I really fucking don't want to be here right now, this is not my place. But also, do you feel at the same time that the reason you love to be on stage, the reason you love to be a clown is because you then have control of that situation. You are at the center and you have control of where it's going. Does that play an effect on it? And then, because that's what I'm looking at from both sides. If you're going to a cinema and it's kind of like socializing, it's a bit
Yeah.
difficult. But when you're on stage, it's like, I know what's going to happen. Does that play
Mm.
effect or?
It's a few things. I think it's having some kind of control. I know having control is an illusion, but still you have some kind of control. And also I wanna make people happy. I wanna make them laugh. I wanna touch their hearts. So that's actually what I wanna do. But I ca- I know I can't do that going to the cinema and taking my tickets and buying some candy and go. That's not the place I can do that. So the stage is somewhere I can do that. Coaching is something where I can do that. And of course, doing all these years of clowning and doing one-on-one and children, my senses are so sensitive that when I come to a I avoid them network events, but sometimes I have to go. And it takes me literally 2 seconds just to go and stand in a group and to decide it's not my group. It takes me 2 seconds. Even not 2 seconds, even I just listen to the conversation while I'm approaching them and I already know it's not my group. And that blocks me, of course, because I should be open and I should go and I'm, let's say 99% of the time I'm right, and I say, okay, Eddie, come on, let's just go stand there and talk with him. And after 10 minutes, then I have a feeling, oh my God, why was I standing here? This is not what I want to hear. This is not what I want to say. And then I crawl into the room of the clown. Then they ask, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a clown. Blah, blah.
Comfort
Then,
blanket. Yeah.
and actually I should be dead serious then. Yeah, actually I should just say, you guys don't interest me. It's boring. You are all boring as hell. Bye. That's what that's what my feeling is
But we
at that
can't
point.
because we're
Actually I
polite
should
people.
say it like that. We can't. Yeah, and that's why I don't go anymore. That's why I just don't go anymore, because I can't be myself. I can't be honest, because then they think you're an asshole, or they think you're out of the sky, and they go, what's he coming to do? And that's not what it is. It's just that I'm genuinely not interested in what they are saying, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's not that what they are saying is not true or not interesting. It's not that. It's just that it doesn't interest me.
It is one of them kind of.
I mean,
It is that
yeah,
I'm not interested in that bullshit conversation, and it does sound bad when you say it out loud, but that is just what that is what it
yeah.
is, and that's just
That's
the
just the
truth. That's
truth.
all we do.
That's the truth. I mean, that's the truth. I love to talk about cars, but suppose I don't, and you come into a group and the guys are all talking about cars and it doesn't interest you, then actually you should say, guys, talk about cars as much as you want. I'm gonna have a beer, right? It's just if it's not interesting to me, I don't want to be a part of it. There are so many people who are interested. I want to find them. but to find them, probably you have to go to these things. But yeah, I'm having a hard time to go.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. It's I'm in a full agreement, mate. I hate doing them. And my day job at the moment is I'm an account manager for an electrical wholesaler. So I have to go and see customers. Trust me, I hate the bullshit conversations I got over with them. It's hard. So I go and start talking to them about
Yeah.
about my story, about the podcast, about mental health, how they find it with their employees. And we talk about that because again, I'm just more comfortable with that than going, hey, do you want to buy a light bulb? Like no one's fucking interested in epoxy light bulb.
Yeah.
But we've got to pay bills and we've got to do a job. So with you now then doing obviously the public speaking, obviously your coaching, what was your thought process? How did you go, do you know what? The clowning's done. I am now going to jump into this. Was it kind of a quick switch? Was it a long process? And how have you found it?
Yeah, it was a very long and hard process. At some point in 2015, I had a burnout, but I realized it afterwards. I didn't realize it at the time. I just thought, oh, I've been doing this for like 25 years almost. I've done it all. I've performed for 3 kids. I've performed for 3,000 kids. I have made, I counted them, 25 theater productions, a lot of things. So I had a world class action balloons that nobody could do but me. So I thought, okay, Eddie, you had it all. What now? Within this clowning, there's no, yeah, maybe Cirque du Soleil. That was maybe another step I could, one step up. But yeah, then I was married and I couldn't go away from home that long. So that was the thing that stopped me actually from soliciting there. And then for almost 2 years, I did almost nothing. Just the thing to keep the bills paid. That was it. And that was a long period that I really didn't know what to really do. And at some point, I rolled into that coaching out of the book that I wrote, because I always had the idea, look, I want to bring this to the world, and I mean, you write a book, you have to, I mean, it all sounds great writing a book, but if 200 people read it, you're lucky. You know what I mean? It's not that you write a bestseller. Nobody writes a bestseller. It's just a few people who writes bestsellers. So we have to be aware of that. So that really didn't work out. So my book, it sold a little bit, but blah, blah. And then I had something like, can't I go speak about these things, right? And then even, in 2000, that was 2006, I saw Sir Ken, I forgot his last name, Sir Ken, sorry, he doesn't live anymore, but it's one of the most watched TED Talks now in the world, Ken Robinson. And I thought that's something for me. I want to do that. 2006. So in that period, 2017, 2018, I thought, yeah, well, I gotta consider that again to do that. And then COVID came, right? So then everything fell down, and I had to find something to do online because I didn't have any income at that time. I was divorced. I didn't have any income. I was living in a one bedroom apartment in my hometown. And I thought, okay, what can I do online to help people and then coaching came as something, hey, I can do that. This seems interesting. So I followed courses and I did some reading and I coached some people and I really loved it. And then COVID was done. And then it all fell down because then it wasn't necessary anymore to have these coaching conversations, and then the world went open and nobody had a problem. And during COVID, millions of coaches were there suddenly. So that fell down. And then that was the point I said, hey, maybe now it's time to do this TED Talk. And that's also a very long process. You have to find somebody who wants to. You have to write you have to write the speech, has to be it's a whole process. It's also a concept because it's really very there are many rules for a TED Talk, but still that was what I wanted to do, and I did that, and that was really 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 good experience for me because that was was last year. So it had been 7 years since I had been on a stage. So that was for me like coming home, and that was for me, okay, this is what I want to do now. I want to do this more on stage, and if I can combine this with my coaching, that would be great. So that's the point where I am now. Is really building the way again to another career, because a clowning career is totally different as a coaching public speaker. So I'm let's say back as a novice, back in the beginning, back trying things, back finding myself again.
Does that inspire you? Does
That's
that
where I am
inspire
now.
you, knowing you're at the beginning again? Does that give you kind of that drive, or is it
No,
kind of a fear factor again? Going, these people have done it for so long.
no,
Am I good enough?
no, no. What it is now is I want to give back now. That's what it is. I have all this baggage of knowledge, of experiences, of I have this. It would be what a shame it would be if I'm not giving now, giving this away and helping people with the things that I know how I can help them. So that's my point of view now. But it doesn't inspire me. It doesn't. It is not even a passion. That was my clowning. That was my theory. That was a passion. But it evolved to, and I love it just as much. Don't get me wrong. But it's giving now. It's helping people. It's giving, and I love it. It's something totally different. Although there are of course a lot of things that have the same principles and value. But I really have now something. Yeah, the last 20-25 of my career, I want to give. It's not that I'm giving things away. I'm not working for free. That's another thing. But I want to give my experience. I want to give it. I want to. That's also why this public speaking is so important for me. You can reach a lot of people, and if I speak for 100 people and just one takes something away and does something with his life, or that's great. No, that's more impact that I had in 22 years of clowning. I think. I don't know.
So Eddie, I just want to ask. We've got a thing coming up in a couple of months. I think around about November time, where we're actually going to be giving a talk on stage. Have you got something where you can give us like 3 tips and something that we can take value from and our listeners take value from about getting the best out of that time?
For public speaking. Yeah. The biggest thing is it's not about you. Put that in your head. If you're on a stage, just before you go on a stage, think it's not about me. That's the number one. It's just not about you if you go speaking. It's about what people that are there. It's not about you. And the second one is really speak from your heart. Try to just speak from your heart what you feel more. You know, you have the data transmission, you have the other transmission, right? And it's the other one you have to touch with people. So stay away of graphics and figures. We have 20% of people do this. You know, these people that talk like that. No, go to the other side. Go to the touching heart. Why are you on the stage? What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to touch people's hearts? And one is enough. Go for one. That's what I do. I'm stepping on a stage, and really my big thing is, if one of these guys or girls, if one takes this and does something with it, how great would that be? How great would that be? Because, I mean, at that moment when you speak, everybody is, yay, and oh, and they come afterwards, they come to you, oh, it was great, and I learned so much, right? All these things. I mean, that's what they come up to me. But, but sometimes I think, okay, that's all great, but how many people are really going to do something with it? Not only take the advice and say, hey, this was a great speech, what he said, but how are they going to change their life with it? And that's also what I'm going to do more in my future public speaking. Is the last piece is calling them out. You've heard this now. What are you going to do? Tell me, what are you going to do with this now? What's the first thing you're going to do when you go out of this room now? And I'm going to even call them out. I want you to call somebody. Just make one phone call after you go out here. One phone call. That's if I can do that, that will be. And even if only 10 people do the call, because they're probably going to call their, I don't know, maybe they're going to call their mother to say how much they love them, or their children, or their wife, or their boss, or whatever. So they're going to do a phone call, what otherwise they wouldn't have done. And that's when you change things, and that's when things are starting to change. Because I think we often have the feeling people know that we love them, and people know that but often they don't, and it's always good to communicate what you actually want instead of thinking that they know. So that's my thing that I'm going to do in this, my public speaking, is the last 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes is going to be such a big call to action, just to keep them to make them do something, because otherwise, to be honest, they had a good time during the hour or 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, or however long the speech takes. But if they don't do something with it, I think it's pointless. And that's also my point of a lot of motivational speakers. And there's nothing wrong with it. And they're giving people a great time. They fly out of the room instead of walking out of the room. But 2 days after the speech, it's gone. I compare it with a hot bath. If you lay yourself in a nice long hot bath, and you don't pour hot water with it occasionally, it's going to be ice cold within the half hour. And that's what motivational speech does with a lot of people. They are so hyped up and they go out of the room, and they call it from the rooftops, but the next day it's gone. It lasts 3 days if they are lucky. And if in these 3 days they take something on, but I really believe chances are small, unless they are, of course, accompanied and they go into a program and stuff. But otherwise, I don't believe it. Yeah, and that's why people don't change. They say that's everybody wants to lose weight in January.
But
How many do?
it's the work behind it that the people, we're all happy to listen, we're all happy to take on board, but we're not happy to do
That's
the
it.
work. And I've been guilty of that with when my first mental, when it was like the first mental health, I
It's
was like,
daily
I don't
work.
want to do the work for that.
Everybody.
Quick fixes. And it's not. It is learning, education,
Yeah.
listening, taking the time. It's a slower
No.
process, what people believe.
Every day. And if you don't do it one day, it's okay. Don't blame yourself for it. But start again the next one. If you don't do it 3 days, no problem. But start again. And at some point, you will do some things every day. And mental health is not different than going to the gym. I call it mental fitness, by the way. It's the same. You have to just do the things you need to do every day. And it could be anything. That could be sitting 10 minutes with your cup of coffee in the snow. I don't know. I'm just selling something. But yeah, but every day. It's something little. But it's every day. You know the expression, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. An apple a day. That's the key word. It's not the apple. It's the a day. That's the key word. I'm a little bit everywhere on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook. I have a website, eddysmits.com. I think if you Google my name, you'll find something. Yeah, mostly like you come with my TEDx talk. If you Google me, that's my website, and there are the things that pop up. Yeah, if you think in any way, even just in a call, that I can help you or give you some clarity, I'm always happy to talk with people. Before even start doing something with them, that's another thing. But I'm always happy to listen to people and see what I can do for them. Give them clarity. That's also important. A lot of people think that they are stuck in some things, but 90% of the people are wrong. It's something else. What really is the problem, and they keep they keep taking the aspirin for the headache, but there's something else going on. And yeah, you can take as much aspirins as you want, but you can't. The root cause is not cleared when you keep taking these aspirins. It doesn't help. And that's what I do, even in one conversation, to point out, and it hurts. That's the thing I can do in that conversation, what I can't do in a where people come together in a network event. But I do that in my coaching call, and I'm calling them out, say, okay, what I'm going to tell you the blunt truth. Is that okay? I'm asking permission.
It's key.
And they say, yeah. Then I'll tell what I see. I'm not saying, I'm not speaking the truth. I'm just telling them what I see and what I hear, what they are saying. Yeah, and sometimes that's very confronting for people. Yeah. Not sometimes, actually every time. Yeah. That's how it starts, and that's what a clown does too. He confronts. Huh? He confronts. He holds big fat mirror.
Eddy, I want to thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
guys
on.
for inviting me.
Jack, as always, it's been a pleasure. But I am going to end the show as I always end the show. Stand up, speak out, and remember, use your voice.